It began with little fines, phony violation notices, and empty threats. Then one afternoon, enforcement officers showed up at my door with badges flashing and firm voices. They claimed I'd violated HOA regulations and was under arrest. What they didn't know, I'm a U.S. Marshal. They just tried to lock up the wrong man. Let me rewind. Before we dive in, drop your state or country below. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Patricia Holloway was the HOA president who thrived on control. She didn't simply enforce rules. When her binder ran dry, she invented new ones. The moment I first met her, I sensed trouble, but I never imagined how far she'd go. It started harmless enough, a crisp envelope stamped in faux gold with the Silverwood Hills HOA logo. Dear homeowner, you must register your property with Silverwood Hills HOA and comply with all community guidelines, including quarterly dues and maintenance fees. I almost laughed. Must. I'd picked this house precisely because it sat outside any HOA. Flipping to page 2, I found a $300 fine for failure to maintain property aesthetics. I stepped outside lush lawn, pristine driveway, my truck gleaming, and tossed it in the trash. But then another arrived, and another. By week's end, my mailbox was jam-packed with notices. $120 for unauthorized exterior modifications. Nothing changed. $180 for excessive nighttime noise. I work third shift. $20 for failure to submit a landscaping blueprint. I didn't know one existed. Patricia wasn't enforcing rules. She was testing me, betting I'd cave. I ignored every single notice. Then one morning, I opened my door to find her in my driveway, clipboard in hand, a predator's smile on her lips. Oh good, she purred, checking her gold watch. I was hoping to catch you. Something I can help you with? I asked, leaning on my truck. She plucked a notice from the stack. Reminder, outstanding violations. I glanced at the paper. I'm not part of your HOA. Her voice stayed sweet. Silverwood Hills has expectations for its surroundings. Everyone contributes. I laughed, cold, humorless. Fair? I don't answer to you. Stop stuffing my mailbox with lies. Her jaw clenched, clipboard quivering. Then she smoothed on a smile. Just a friendly reminder, you wouldn't want complications. I stepped forward, voice low. One more fake notice, and I'll file a harassment claim. You can play HOA queen all you like, but you have zero authority here. She turned and clicked away in her heels. I thought it was over. It wasn't. The next morning, my lawn was littered with trash. A week later, my mailbox lay shattered. Then the rumors began. Neighbors whispering that I had legal trouble, even a warrant for my arrest. Sure enough, a bold final notice arrived from the HOA's legal department. Failure to comply with community guidelines will result in legal action. A warrant has been issued for your refusal to adhere. I stared, then laughed a deep, genuine laugh. Patricia had lost her grip on reality. But by that point, she'd gone too far. She'd escalated from HOA harassment to outright legal fraud, and the next move would be her downfall. Friday morning, 2 men in cheap uniforms and plastic badges stood in my driveway, clipboards at the ready. Are you the homeowner? The taller one barked. I folded my arms. Who wants to know? We're with the HOA Enforcement Division, he declared. There's an active warrant for your arrest. I raised an eyebrow. The shorter man nodded vigorously. Yes, sir. I smiled. Show me the warrant. They exchanged uneasy glances. You already got the notice. Not enough, I said. I need a judge's signature. They sputtered. Finally, the tall one stammered. The board issued it. I nodded slowly. And since when does an HOA have arrest powers? They hesitated, sweat forming. I let them wriggle for a moment longer, then drew my real U.S. Marshal badge and held it between 2 fingers. Their faces drained of color. One tripped over his own feet. The other bolted. I watched them flee. Then I ran their names and discovered they weren't even security guards but actors from a rent-a-cop scheme Patricia had assembled. It was no longer just petty HOA extortion. It was elaborate fraud, fake cops, fake warrants, forged liens. She'd snared multiple homeowners in the same trap. Homes seized, properties sold to HOA-friendly buyers. Organized theft. That was when I decided I'd let her dig her own hole one step further. I drafted a formal response to her final notice, feigning fear and submission, even requesting a hearing, exactly the bait she needed. The hearing was set for a rented community center on Friday afternoon. No courthouse, no legal venue, just Patricia Holloway and her rubber stamp board. I arrived early, dressed casually. She sat at the head of a long table, a cheap wooden gavel at her side, 3 board members beside her, playing judge. Across were 2 homeowners she'd previously targeted, nervous, pale, desperate. She greeted me with that triumphant grin. Glad you could make it, she said, motioning to an empty chair. I sat, folded my hands, and let her begin. She rattled off her fabricated violations, inflated fines, and hollow legal threats, buzzwords like breach of contract and community infractions that sounded serious but held zero weight. Halfway through, I cut her off. Let me guess, the HOA police are on their way to escort me. Her eyes darted to the door. Bingo! Before they arrive, I said, rising, shall we invite some real legal professionals? On cue, doors burst open. Postal inspectors, county sheriffs, and an assistant U.S. attorney swept in. Patricia's face went ghost white. The AUSA stepped forward, presenting a real arrest warrant. Patricia Holloway, you are under arrest for federal fraud, extortion, impersonation of law enforcement, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. She shrieked and tried to flee, but the officers cuffed her at the head of her own sham courtroom. Board members recoiled in horror. Homeowners sat in stunned silence. News broke within hours. Toppled HOA board indicted, Patricia restitution ordered for every victim. Within weeks, Silverwood Hills HOA was legally dissolved. And me, I stood on that center hall stage, calm as ever, knowing I'd protected my neighbors and shut down a criminal racket, one fake fine at a time.